This is the story of two girls and a factory. Wei Hong was born and brought up nearby, and has worked here since she left school. But many of the workers are migrants, like Yinhua. She's come from another province to work here. They're both in their early 20s, but live very different kinds of lives. This shoe factory, and other businesses like it, have transformed the lives of people in this farming area, and made it one of the richest stretches of countryside in China. The factory is in Jiangsu province, north of the great port of Shanghai. It belongs to the small township of Xijiang. Historically, this was a region of canals and gardens. The canals were built as routes for trade. Now they carry tourists too. The plentiful water and warm weather make the land very productive, but the countryside is overcrowded, so there is very little land for each family. In the past, most villagers were poor. To improve their living standards, people had to do more than farm. But until the mid-1970s, farmers were restricted to working on the fields. They were forbidden by the government from doing any other kind of work. Then, in 1973, a work group of farmers set up a small factory, manufacturing rubber bicycle parts, like pedals and inner tubes. It was run collectively by the workers to earn them extra money. But China is a country of bikes, and there was a tremendous demand for their products. The factory became a success. Later, government policy changed and factories like this were encouraged. Then, as the village got more experience at managing a factory, they diversified. Rubber remained at the heart of the business, though. They started manufacturing rubber-soled shoes. This kind of business, run by a village or a township for the benefit of the inhabitants, is called a township or village enterprise. It's a system unique to China. Some are very successful. The shoe factory, now known as the Beibei Group, today employs 2,300 people and makes 16 million shoes a year. It was set up to create as many jobs as possible. And even today, most of the work, like cutting out shoe soles, is labor-intensive. Labor is cheap. Machines are expensive. Sewing the upper part of the shoe together requires meticulous attention to detail.
My name is Zhu Weihong. I live in Fengxing village near the town of Xijiang. I'm a sewing worker at the Beibei shoe factory. I've been working here for more than 2 years. At first I found it quite interesting. Now I find it somewhat boring because you have to repeat the same kind of work every day.
Checking the shoes are properly made is part of Wei Hong's mother's job. Her father works in the factory too. In fact, this business and others locally have become so successful at creating jobs that there's now a local labor shortage. When the company started manufacturing shoes for export in a new section of the factory, they had to recruit workers from further afield. These migrant workers now make up 1/3 of the factory staff, but they work in a different building, making different kinds of shoes under different working conditions. If this molding process goes wrong, then the shoe has to be unpicked and remade. It's a job for the supervisor.
My name is Pan Yinhua, and I am from the province of Anhui, 200 kilometers from here. Before I came, I had no regular job. I am from the countryside, so I help my mother and father at home and in the fields.
Each worker gets paid according to the number of shoes their section assembles. The harder they work, the more money they make. Local workers earn about £50 a month. Yinhua can earn more, up to £75. This is chiefly because she, like other migrant workers, has to work longer hours than the locals, often 13 to 14 hours a day. But they all get exactly an hour for lunch. There's spinach and pork today. Yinhua usually eats with friends. Wei Hong often eats with her parents because they all work here. Her father cooks their meal himself and brings it to the canteen for them. The migrants' hostels are on the factory site, so Yinhua can go to her dormitory at lunchtime.
Generally, 10 to 12 workers share a room, but in our room there are only 9. We get on very well with each other.
But they have no privacy, no quiet corners to escape to on their own. Apart from the bunk bed, the only places Yinhua has to put her belongings are 2 small lockers. The washing facilities are limited too. There's no hot running water here. Once a week, though, they go up the road to take a shower. However, on a daily basis, this is the only place 60 migrant girls have to wash themselves. This is a friendly place. It has to be, with so many people crowded so close together. The boys are only allowed on the ground floor. The girls live upstairs.
I don't go out very often. I just stay in and listen to music, read, or chat with my friends.
One of the toughest things for the migrants is being away from home.
I left home 2 years ago, and I have never been back since. Sometimes I really miss my family. Sometimes I don't. I plan to go back home sometime this year.
Wei Hong, the local girl, goes home every night. It takes her 10 minutes. She lives in a small hamlet in heavily built-up countryside. Nowadays, most people around here earn enough in the local factories to build themselves very substantial houses. Wei Hong's family is no exception.
The house we live in now was built in 1989. It's made of brick and cement. Before that, we lived in a small single-story house. It was made of simple materials held together with mud.
They have a washing machine, a fridge, and a television. Their new house is huge by Chinese standards.
原来旧房子嘛，又暗又
The old house was very damp, dark, and dusty. The new one is bigger and has more light. It's sunny
光线也挺好的，
and it's very clean.
也挺干净的。
看电视，哎，看电视，完了。
Wei Hong has two sisters who are twins. They are both students and study away from home. The family can only afford this and their comfortable lifestyle because Wei Hong and her parents earn good money in the factory. They still have a little farmland, but they couldn't live off it. Wei Hong's father still tends their fields though, but in the evening after work. Sometimes he takes time off for the harvest as well. The local factories generally allow people to do this, even though they now run on disciplined commercial lines. Wei Hong's grandmother lives nearby. She and her friends remember how poor they were in the past.
We used to live in a house made of straw and mud, with only 1.5 rooms. Life was hard in the past. Most people were very poor. Now most live quite comfortably. In the past, people didn't have proper stoves for cooking. They used stoves made of mud and stones, just a ring of baked mud. Nowadays, cooking conditions are better.
While the locals have the time to enjoy the evening, the migrants are still hard at work. Keen to save as much money as possible, and without the distraction of family life, Yinhua is content to work very long hours. She's had only 1 day off in 2 months.
I don't know how long I'll work here, but I really like my job. My family would like me to go back and join them, but I plan to work here a bit more, another year maybe.
In China, it is almost impossible for migrant workers to settle permanently away from their original village. Yinhua has official permission to work in this factory. If she lost her job, she would have to go home. The sad thing is, there is no way for her to earn any money at home. It is too remote. The Beibei factory has had the great good luck to be in an ideal business location. The shoes it produces have ready access to its customers. This consignment is being shipped to Japan, and that will take only 4 days. Beibei is on a good road network. The factory is only 4 hours' drive from the deepwater port at Shanghai, handy for overseas markets. It's also well placed for the domestic market, because most of China's population lives along the Yangtze River or within easy reach of the coast. Half of Beibei's customers are Chinese. There are nearly 3,000 million feet to shoe in China, 1 out of every 5 feet in the world. Ready access to ports means raw materials can be brought in easily. Rubber comes by ship from Malaysia. Coal comes by barge along the canal network from Shandong province, 400 kilometers away. And Beibei sources cotton cloth and leather within 10 kilometers of the factory. This location also gives them easy access to business contacts because they are only an hour and a half's drive from Shanghai City and its international airport. These distribution agents have flown in from Hong Kong to discuss potential business in Germany and the USA with Beibei's managing director, Mr. Shi. He remembers how the development of their technical skills and their design studio also depended on their location.
This was a rural area. There was a lack of electricity and we knew nothing about modern technology and had no expertise. How could we change this? The method we used was to invite a group of experts from nearby cities to teach us on Sundays.
Being near big industrial centers is still important today. It means they're able to keep up with changing fashions and technological advances. As you might expect in a favorable location, Beibei is not the only successful company here. Everything from soft toys to paper packaging is manufactured around Xizang. There are 10 big successful township enterprises here. They operate as individual businesses but are owned collectively and controlled by local government. Together, their profits have funded huge developments for the 27,000 people of Xizang. There are very few single-story buildings left. Xizang's shabby old main street was replaced by a new one 2 years ago. Houses are being built privately. But local government has funded the new infrastructure, like the sanitation, road and telephone networks, all from the profits of the township enterprises. But the system of enterprise ownership is changing. Beibei is being privatized.
Before the system changed, the government controlled investment in the business. The management's policy for the growth of the business often conflicted with the government's aims. In a sense, the government was boss and so could take as much money as they wanted out of the company to fund government.